her studies at a public school. In truth, there were two public schools in the village. One of them was old, dating back to the time of the French occupation. It was still built in a European architectural style, with a single floor and an old structure that carried history in its walls. Its walls were decorated with beautiful drawings painted by Moroccan teachers, giving the place a unique charm. The second school was newer, built by the Moroccan government. It consisted of 2 floors and stood out with its clean white walls. It was a beautiful school, filled with colorful drawings created by the teacher who was also an artist. Its playground was very large, surrounded by tall trees and lamps that lit the yard. Even after more than 25 years, the image of that school remains clear in her memory, as if it were yesterday. Those schools were not just buildings. They were spaces where dreams quietly began, where childhood and learning blended together. Time has passed, but the details of those early school days have never faded from her heart. If you'd like, I can continue the next part with her classmates and
Tia was a hardworking girl. It was as if her family problems and the absence of her father pushed her to pour all her energy into studying and playing. Learning became her escape, and play became her way of releasing what she could not express in words. Her mother was strict with her when it came to memorizing lessons, discipline, and respecting those older than her. Sia feared her at times, yet at the same time felt deeply loved. Her mother bought her toys and beautiful clothes, celebrated her birthdays, and whenever Sia achieved first place in her class, her mother rewarded her with pride and joy. Sia also had 2 small goats. She used to feed them milk, play with them, and sometimes even argue with them like a child would. Growing up in a village made her especially fond of animals. They had several domestic animals, including dogs and cats, animals that became part of her childhood. She still keeps photos of 2 puppies and their mother, whom she named Leonardo. Her days passed in a simple, beautiful rhythm, studying with dedication, then spending her free time playing with animals, cousins, neighbors, or watching cartoon shows like Kanan and Teletubbies, and others that filled her childhood with color and innocence. Those years flowed quietly, shaping Sia into a girl who learned early how to balance responsibility with joy, and how to turn pain into effort and loneliness into love. Sia was an outstanding student, and her excellence in school brought her not only success, but also many enemies. Her achievements created jealousy among some classmates, neighbors, and even relatives. Success, as it often does, attracted resentment as much as admiration. Yet despite everything, by the grace of God, Sia managed to complete her primary education. Every single year she ranked first in her class. This made her mother extremely proud. In fact, one of the main reasons behind her parents' divorce was her mother's insistence on educating her daughter, while her father and some members of his family strongly opposed it. For this reason, the mother's greatest priority became ensuring that Sia continued her education and remained at the top, and she succeeded in doing exactly that. Sia proved herself. She excelled, stayed first in her class, and eventually reached the stage of middle school. However, a new challenge appeared. The middle school was far from their home, about 1 kilometer away. This distance required school transportation, and it also meant that Sia would have to spend the entire day in that area, far from home, with no possibility of returning during free periods if she had an hour or more without classes. This situation caused concern and opposition from some family members, who believed she should stop her education. But her mother, her grandfather, and other supportive relatives encouraged her to move forward and continue despite the difficulties. In Part 3, we will discover whether Sia will be able to continue her studies in middle school or not. Middle school was 7 kilometers away from their home. This long distance required school transportation and meant that Sia had to spend the entire day far from home, without the possibility of returning during breaks or free hours. So in Part 3, we will see whether Sia will be able to continue her studies in middle school or not.